Buying a home? Don't panic. Just listen to the rest of this podcast. Okay, what about spalling and efflorescence? So I want to talk about that because that tends to freak people out too. And once again, it's all part of the perfect storm of having foundation problems.
Yeah.
So I'll start out and then you jump in when you think maybe I'm not describing something properly or whatever. So efflorescence is evidence of moisture coming in through the foundation from the exterior. It's not effervescence, it's efflorescence.
Depends who you ask.
I remember being on a job once and I said, oh yeah, you have a lot of efflorescence under the house. And the realtor looked at me and goes, wow, you actually said that correctly.
I had some people say it's called fluorescence.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right.
All right. We're on the same page.
As long as you know what we're talking about, you're good.
It begins with an E. And it's got sense at the end. So anyway, so that's what efflorescence is.
Yep.
Efflorescence, I'll show you a picture of that first. So right here, you can see the orange arrows are pointing to the white stains on the block wall there. That's efflorescence coming in right there.
Yep.
And that's pretty common on any raised foundation to a certain level. I mean, I've seen it excessive where it's literally like a half-inch thick.
Yeah, and you can kind of like powder it out.
You could powder it out on your hand.
But John, do you know what it is?
It's moisture intrusion from outside.
But what is the white part?
Oh, that's the minerals.
Yep. I could just call it salt.
Yeah.
Just the salt left behind in the water. People don't know what it is. They think it's toxic. They think it's mold.
No, that's not mold.
Yeah, people think it's mold all the time.
That is not mold. That is not mold.
Yep.
That's a whole different podcast. Right?
We're just clarifying.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. So right here, this is the next step after efflorescence, which is spalling of the concrete, which means you can see the aggregate in the concrete because the exterior part of the foundation is starting to just crumble away and just disintegrate.
Yep.
And it's starting to fall apart. So if you look at this photo on the bottom right side, you'll see the big pile of concrete laying next to the concrete wall. And here's a close-up of that. And you can see I'm holding in my hand there
the foundation. Yeah. So when it comes down to a situation like this, John, ultimately you have to remember if it's this bad and you're starting to see all the rocks, we can't just surface skim coat it to reinforce it. At this point, you're going to need a foundation replacement. It's that bad. I mean, look, it's crumbling in your hands.
Do you guys do a thing called the drill test to see how sturdy it still is?
Yep. So we don't do drill testing on regular stem wall foundations for Spalding. We do a pen test or a screwdriver test because a drill can drill through anything.
I see.
So it wouldn't really make sense for us to start drilling in it. But when it comes down to a situation like this, we do a pen test. Our crew has a screwdriver with a special head on it. That's kind of welded like a V, and they test it around with that.
Oh, to see how far it goes in.
Yeah, and they also test the top. But ultimately, just by looking at this photograph, it doesn't look like we're able to save this. I mean, it looks pretty bad. It's just crumbling in your hand. So just imagine those bolts. Are they going to be able to hold?
Right, exactly.
That's kind of the thing.
That was my point.
And the rule of thumb is, and I'd like to mention this to homeowners as well, is if the bolts can hold, usually you don't have to replace your foundation. If the bolts can hold, put it that way. When you're crawling and inspecting a foundation in a crawl space, think about it. Do you think a bolt can hold in this foundation? It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Well,
testing is a different story, but
right. So you guys may take on the job and I think we can get bolts in there, and you may start the job and realize they're not holding.
No, we'll never do that. So if we get to a situation like this, we're going to recommend a foundation replacement. If it's an unknown where we really can't determine, we'll do a drill test. So before they close escrow, that way they're not left in a pickle.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about $100,000 difference. Average foundation replacement is about $85,000.
So the point we're missing here is you're going to do your own inspection.
Correct.
Of it first.
Oh, 100%.
And that's the part that got left out. So that's my concern. So you're going to go on, they're going to call you, you're going to do your own inspection as a foundation specialist.
100%. Yep.
And then you're going to determine what can and can't be done.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. We have to go on site for that. Gotcha. So we'll get a lot of pictures like this, and I mentioned to all the home inspectors, if there are any home inspectors watching this, you're welcome to put up our number, John. They can always text us pictures if they have questions. We have a full office staff to help out. So
I will have all your information in the description on the podcast and on the YouTube version. So anybody who wants to reach out to you, whether to hire you, do some repair, because you do repairs.
Yep.
You don't do new construction.
We don't do any new construction.
You just do repairs.
Correct.
And retrofitting.
Correct. Everything underneath the house that's not new construction build.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Do you have to keep all you guys on a certain diet plan so they can all fit?
Yeah. It's funny, people come into the office to work and I can just tell off the bat they're not going to fit in the crawl space. I'm not going to not hire them, but I just explain to them, you have to get in the crawl space. Yeah. And I didn't realize it was like that. And, they make the decision themselves.
I had a similar situation. I had a gentleman call me years ago looking for a job as a home inspector, and he had this really deep voice. I said, "Sir, I need to ask you a question." He goes, "What's that?" I said, "How tall are you?" "About 6'4". "What do you think you weigh?"
Right.
I mean, how big are you? He
Right.
goes, "I'm a pretty big guy." I said, "Well, you're probably not going to fit in most crawl spaces."
Yeah.
I said, "If you want to do this, I wouldn't be able to hire you because I do a lot of crawl spaces.
Right.
But there are areas you can go work, all slabs. You just got to be honest with your customers and tell them you don't do crawl spaces.
Unless he does a robot.
But he has to go get it when it gets stuck.
Yeah.
So it's not always the answer.
Yeah.
You know,
I hear you.
That's another video. But anyway, this is a great photo of just proving that I do work for a living. That's my hand.
There you go.
That's my hand holding that concrete.
That's not latex gloves, is it?
No. And on the same note, here's another crawl space with just completely saturated soil.
Yep.
The entire crawl space was wet. And because of this, that's why I want to touch on this right now, is the effects of moisture intrusion under your house. You don't want moisture under your house. And here are some reasons for that. So this here is a old school anchor plate, it looks like.
Yep, very old school.
And look at the original bolt, all corroded and rusted.
Take a look at the washer.
Yeah.
Circular washer.
Yep.
So ultimately, when it comes down to this, I mean,
this is FUBAR right here.
Imagine if we installed a new retrofitting plate, it would do the same thing.
Yeah.
And the clients are paying for nothing.
Right.
And again, I don't think most companies would care.
Right.
Go in and install it and leave.
So this particular house has a moisture intrusion problem. There's another one right there.
Yep. And that plywood's not up to code.
Yep. So this crawl space was used as a storage unit. Keep in mind, this crawl space is dirt.
Was it a tall access? Could you stand in there?
No, it was pretty tight. It was pretty tight. So everywhere I went, I was banging my head on pipes. You name it. It was pretty tight, and everywhere I went, there was moisture. I didn't see a major defect in the foundation, but man, this thing's been taking on water for a long time, and they're storing their stuff under there. Paper goods, there's boxes under there. I'm like, come on, guys, wake up. So that's the adverse effect. So once again, it's all about moisture. Your crawl space needs to have proper ventilation, cross ventilation, so things can dry. So if a little moisture gets in, no big deal. It can dry.
Yep.
So there's a lot of little things to consider with what we're talking about here. And one thing we mentioned earlier was expansive soil.
There it is.
So let's go over. Let's hear what you have to say about expansive soil.
Sure. So this is another thing people freak out about. They see this underneath the house and they're thinking that this was a little river of water crossing through. What they don't realize is, the whole California is on expansive soil. When it gets wet, it expands, and when it dries, it shrinks. And that's why you have movement.
And those are
homes.
Shrinkage cracks.
There you go. Exactly. These are not expanding cracks. It'll be a little bit different.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's very, very common to see this. The only things you have to remember is, the whole California is like that. You're not just going to go find another house. A lot of times the buyers will say, let's look at another house instead. Okay. Well, you're going to have the same situation or maybe worse. So, definitely don't disregard it, but don't freak out at the same time.
Right. See, I don't see this that much. When I write up expansive soil, it might be a couple times a month, honestly.
Yep.
I don't see it a lot, but sometimes I see it and it's very excessive.
Yep.
And I'll find out later that particular area, that neighborhood happens to have excessive expansive soil. Now, I'll go down a little backstory for you. I was working with this realtor for quite some time, and he was buying a house for himself and his wife, and he asked me to come look at it. So, okay. So I go underneath, and now it was recently remodeled, completely remodeled. I go underneath. There was cracks that were repaired everywhere.
Okay.
Each wall had at least 5 cracks that were strapped.
Wow, a lot of cracks. Yep.
All of them.
Yep.
The entire foundation. Then I'm looking at the soil. It's all expansive. So I explained this to him. I said, I've explained the story to you before. We've worked together before.
Right.
I said, you've got like 15 cracks here.
Right.
And I said, they've all been repaired, but you still have expansive soil.
Right.
And I believe he didn't have enough drainage outside either. So I commented on all those things.
Didn't help out.
And he still bought it. I said, you're going to have cracks.
Right.
You are going to still experience cracks inside your house.
But as long as he understands that, that's the difference.
Yeah. But I was really careful about explaining because I knew the guy.
Right.
And we've been down this road before.
Yeah.
So I was really surprised that he went through with it because there was so many foundation repairs already.
Right.
That to me was a little scary, you know.
I mean, it's almost like a good sign, though. I mean, they addressed it when they needed to, in a sense. I wouldn't really be too worried about it as long as he's aware of it, and the preventative maintenance from the exterior drainage is corrected.
Yeah,
and that would be the difference between having a really good agent and someone who barely sells any homes. I mean, I work with a lot of 1%ers, and you can tell the demeanor right off the bat. Right off the bat, if they're trying to, my client's coming, be very cautious to what you say. Versus the ones that are top producers, they'll tell us, say everything right off the bat, everything.
Yes.
So you can really fish out the good agents from the bad ones, something as simple as
Don't
this.
tell us how to do our jobs. That's annoying. I get that
Not
too
fun.
sometimes.
Yeah,
it's not my first rodeo.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not going to.
And you have to be honest.
I don't have a second high-pitched voice, so don't worry about that. So anyway, that's what expansive soil looks like. If you happen to go under your house, you might even see this in your yard sometimes. So I've seen this in yards too.
It's more of like a hump though.
Yeah.
Versus the engraving. Yeah.
So it depends on where you're at and stuff like that. And then way back in the distance there, you can see the efflorescence coming in.
Yep.
So the trick to having excessive expansive soil is you got to keep it dry because this will make your house move, correct?
Yep. I'll move a lot.
You're not going to feel it, but it's going to move.
You'll see the cracks.
You'll see the cracks, but you're not going to literally feel your house moving.
No.
Because it's a slow process.
Yep. Very
It'll go
slow.
up, it'll come back down. You might hear a creak.
You might see it more in the summer months as it dries. And it shrinks up. Those cracks might close, but you'll still have a problem. Some of those opening doors and windows will have that little nudge.
Right. So when I see this, I'm like, you need to talk to a soils engineer, or
geotech engineer,
specialist geotechnical engineer to determine if it actually is. It looks like it to me.
Right.
So anyway, that's how we deal with that one. We talked about the cripple wall bracing. I forgot to ask you, how thick does that plywood have to be?
So it depends on the home. But it's supposed to be 5-ply structural grade 1. So, 5-ply structural is a very, very different plywood than you might see on these older homes that are built.
So it's not just a 1/2-inch plywood.
Well, it's 1/2 inch, but it's 5-ply.
5 plies.
Right.
It's structural sheathing.
Right. It's structural sheathing, but it could also be, it depends. So for instance, you'll go to an older house built pre-1979, you'll find sheathing on it, but it's 4-ply or 3-ply.
Right. Now, OSB is also structural sheathing too.
We don't use OSB.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you use it?
You can, okay. It depends on the city.
Okay.
I'll put it that way. The problem with it is it's not really water resistant.
Right.
So you're in a crawl space.
Yeah, that's true.
Why would you want to?
Sure.
So certain cities will allow it. We'll never install it.
Right.
We'll never. But that's why I kind of laughed when you said that, because certain cities will just say, yeah, go ahead and install it. But
I'm surprised they don't make you use like a pressure treated plywood.
Imagine. No, they don't require us. The whole thing. To wear gloves the entire time.
Yeah. And a mask. You can have a mask on anyway, but okay. I don't think you answered the question earlier about why are there round holes in the sheathing? Is that just for ventilation? Or is that to identify the bolts?
Good question. Yeah. So it's 2 reasons. 1, it's a requirement for ventilation, and 2, it's an inspector hole. So they can see that you actually put the right bolts in with the right washers.
Got it.
And there are certain requirements in spacing for that as well. You don't just throw them around.
Right.
And it's not always just right above the bolt.
So you're actually going off a blueprint.
So we have engineered plans that we use. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who makes up the engineered plans?
So we have an engineer in house that we work with.
Okay.
But also there's a standard LA City plan set that we use.
Okay.
But depends on the city. A lot of cities do not accept it.
And as far as the plywood fasteners, just nails or screws?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just nails?
Yeah, there's a certain requirement for the spacing of them, but yeah.
Right. Sure.
Some people call them Tico nails, but
okay, so we talked about this in your meeting, but we're going to talk about it today too. Yeah. Do partition walls with cripple walls require sheathing?
No, they don't. And the reason for that is the perimeter weight of the home is what requires the sheathing. Right. So if it's an interior partition wall, it's not holding that lateral perimeter weight. So it's no code requirements at all to brace them.
Right.
To brace or bolt them.
Right. Now, a partition wall is used for what?
it's almost like a mimic of the post and pier assembly. It's still holding the floor of the home,
right?
But it's not holding the perimeter of the home.
Right. It's not holding the perimeter of the home, but it is supporting
the floor,
structural load above it.
Correct. And if there was a load bearing wall inside that they moved, or if an engineer came out there and decided to move a load bearing wall and that's where it lines up, then it's obviously a different story. But majority of the cases, it's not like that. It's just holding up the floor of the home.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, like if you did a major addition on your house, they're going to have you transfer that load from the roof all the way through the sill plates, all the way down to, and they'll probably make you pour a whole new footing.
Yeah. And the terminology we use is weight shift transfer. So the weight of the home has to transfer that load and, go to the bottom of that footing. So I can't call that shot just by looking at it. We'll have to, go on site for an inspection.
And that's framing. That's like framing 101. So if you're a home inspector and you never really built a house before or never really had any training in a stick framed house just to see how things are put together.
Yep. Different story. Yeah.
It would really help you to get that training because it's going to make you really understand more about what you're reporting to people when you look in an actual lived in house with drywall on it and you can't see the studs. You'll know what's behind them at least.
Right. Right. Yeah. There's a great book from Larry Hahn you should all read.
Okay.
About, basic framing. Him and his brother they actually have some YouTube videos. They're not alive anymore, but it was a great series of original framing, pretty much no power tools.
Oh, yeah. I was lucky when I was younger. I was about 17, and I got involved with a framing crew over the summer.
Nice.
And turned into a full-time job for me, and I really excelled at it, and I did that till I was about 23. So we built everything you could think of. Custom homes, crazy roof lines.
You were young.
Yeah.
And to work.
And we did, and I was laying out blueprints by the time I was 19.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So I had a really good boss. So it was really helpful for me to know that coming into this industry that I'm in now. So it's just a good thing for any home inspectors. If you haven't built a deck, go build one. And
that knowledge is priceless.
Yeah, you'll learn just from that. So.
Yeah.